Alrighty, another round in the heart of Finland. So third round, I was black against one of the best players in Finland. Opponent is 24.95 now. He was 25.50 a few years ago, so he's going down a little bit, but he's definitely really strong. I played him last year, maybe second round. Same colors. I lost that game as black. We opened the game exactly the same. So this was the second game of the Tuesday. So I already played a kind of a longish game as the second round. So after I went for a dinner, I didn't have really much time to prep for this one. I just looked at what we played last year. This went exactly the same. They go for the fianchetto setup. I know he's gonna go somewhere here at some point and turn it into a Catalan. So knight c6. So if he castles, we can go e5, and then he has no d4s, and then it's a Queen's Indian in reverse. So he goes d4, and here, of course, black can capture and turn it into a Grunfeld in reverse, but white already has a lot of trouble in the Grunfeld, trying to hold the center together. And here you're playing the Grunfeld, the white side of the Grunfeld as black tempo down, and so you're gonna have even harder time holding this all together. A lot of pressure here, so it's not advisable. So I just played after d4, I just developed the knight. 6, take castle. I play 6, defend my pawn here, and they play b3. So last year our game went c4 here. I chopped, and they went knight d3 to get it back. I chopped, and then I played bishop e7, which was not really great, and they played b3 and recaptured the pawn, and I ended up on a back foot and eventually lost the game. So here, for instance, after castles, bishop b2, even here your best move is bishop c5. So I would have probably played the bishop c5 in one strike this time if we repeat it. It's the best move and it should be completely equal. Anyways, after e6, we got something different this time. b3. Bishop is going here, but also does kind of support the c4 in a different way if it happens. Well, I played bishop d7. I wasn't really into book anymore after this move, but this is a good one. It frees things up here. It solidifies this one, and the bishop is aiming at this square at possibilities. It looks a little bit weird, of course. Like you'd think of this would be more natural, but then you have always like gets a little vulnerable here. C4s come, and well, it would maybe be playable. This is more solid. There's a lot of games that have gone this way. They play c4. I took on d4. They took on d5. I took. They took. And then, well, here I was kind of tempted to go for this line. Chop, chop, go here. Threaten this. I wasn't really sure. I saw this line that at least I can't do this because then I'm gonna lose a pawn here by chop chop. Well, actually, computer even approves that, but of course I don't want to play that without any knowledge. Pawn down. We're left with the bishop pair there. It's fine, but I didn't really like it, so I just went bishop c5, asked the questions here, and they took here. And I take with the bishop, and then we have this pretty solid square here, and the bishops are not looking bad at all. And well, of course, the big idea is to somehow move this knight at some point somewhere and just trade these bishops off. And then we neutralize the Catalan bishop and we are doing really well. Oh, they played queen c2, hit my bishop. Here I played bishop d4, hitting this guy, kind of forcing more the bishops off too. They did bishop b2, and here I took here. I was wondering which way is the best way to do it. Like I can build up here and force them to kind of take here, and then, well, here I saw that there's two options white can go for. They can go for this, or they can force things with this one. And I mean, I do like these endgames a lot, often where you are forced into a maybe queen takes, so this pressure stays here. Queen rooks versus the queen. I like that endgame, but here I wasn't really sure because I have to basically give up a pawn here, or allow the very annoying queen d6, and then I have hard time getting castled or coordinating my rooks. Like it's a bit unpleasant for sure. It should be like equalish at some point, but I don't know. But also it was only an option that white can say no to if they want to, and they kind of similar situation to the game. Here I was kind of would have been happy in a way compared to the game that I have a queen in a decent diagonal here. Well, I don't have to retreat the queen yet. I can castle and wait until the knight goes here and then retreat the queen, so we don't give any knight e4s, of course. Compared to the way I played in a game is that the queen ends up here. It's no big deal because I was intending to castle. It's safe. And then they went knight d2. I kind of was expecting this to happen because, well, I don't think white wants to trade the bishop, so the knight is just gonna go here, and if I do something, I think he's gonna just block it and be happy about it. And well, I don't really have to worry about anything either, but at least he keeps some pieces on, and he outranks me by over 300 points, so obviously, and playing the white pieces, so he doesn't want to draw. So he wants to keep it more complex. Alright, so knight d2, I defend my bishop here, so now I'm definitely getting some kind of a, well, we don't have to worry about any double pawns here. Of course, if I do it this way, I don't have to do it either. But I was wondering, if I do this, then maybe he can play e4 and say no trades. And my biggest worry was something like at some point e5 and the knight would somehow plunk into d6. Maybe it's fine still, but I don't want any knights plunked into d6. Seems unpleasant. I mean, I guess he could still try that all here, but well, he developed the rook. I want to trade the bishops. They say no, block the file. And then I decided that we kind of ease the pressure here, offer a queen trade. Intention is that this is fine. I deny any e5s from the knight, and if he goes here, we just plunk the bishops off, and it should be a completely even Steven game. I mean, it's even Steven here. Both sides have 4 versus 2. Or 2 on the queen side, 4 on the king side. Pawn structure is symmetrical. These bishops are kind of neutralizing each other here, and the difference is basically the knights jumping around. I knew the knight b4 was a kind of a gimmicky move, and if I remember my last year's game against him, I did some really suspicious knight jumps around. I'm not sure did I go here and there too, but like some knight moves that did not get me anywhere, and here I was kind of wondering that am I really repeating the same thing? Like the knight is not doing much here. It's kind of gimmicky, just trying to trade the bishops. Here, of course, I have to realize that what happens not about this one, but what happens if they go here. My original intention when I went here was to go knight a6, and well, we're kind of doing everything. Then the knight is not great on a6, but queen is also kind of stupid on a3 with the knight here, and he's not threatening this, and if he moves the knight, we'll chop, and it's all fine. But then I realized, oh, after this one, I don't have to care about at all about the a-pawn. Because whenever you take it, I'll just come here and capture your pawn back here. Pop. And that's fine. And this pawn ended up hanging around for a while here. There was also funny lines I saw. If they went e4, had some possibilities of going knight c3. And they are already started to see funny lines with them. I get to finish with the brilliancy. I don't know where it would have ended up here. Because I saw this line during the game, but actually doesn't work. Because he can take here and say, oof. Because the point is that pop, pop. Yay, I win with the brilliant queen sack, but this would have been quite a rude move, and white is better. I have to move the queen somewhere, and well, then we end up in this stupid bishop versus the knight endgame I wanted to avoid during this game. Well, the good part is that if at this point I would have realized, oh, this is not good, this still wins for black. So this white could not go this way, but yeah, this does not work. I don't know, I was looking at this line all the time. I was not even sure that was on the radar at all, but felt like I have to keep that on mind out, like every possibilities. They went queen c5. I mean, it doesn't threaten anything. If you don't take it yet the first time, you're not really threatening to take it second time either. So I played knight e7. I introduced some threats on the queen. This is defended well here. And again, if you take, I'll just go here and take my pawn on a2 and put pressure here, and we simplify. So queen goes here, now here. Still not threatening this because it's the same empty threat. So since I realized he's not doing anything, I improve my position in a little bit. I make a loft here. Maybe we could have done here, but it's not much since we are not really threatening the bishop move. Maybe we are threatening the pawn, but he can just defend it and be fine. Still not threatening this probably. Well, maybe he's now threatening this because maybe go queen c5 and threaten the knight, so I have no time to take here. Anyways, I just improved with the loft, so my king side is a little safer. I don't know if I was supposed to make a loft on the dark squares, because it would have saved me in some potential lines where with them queen d8 in the future when the other rooks get traded off. Well, potential lines. Rook stayed on the board. One pair of rooks stayed on the board until the end almost. But and warning, if you watch this far, this game is still 100 moves from here. So we're move 19. This game lasted 119 moves. So this is easily the longest game I've ever played. I'm not sure how long time-wise it went, but I think we were far past 5 hours. I'm not sure we got to 6, probably not, but we were about to get to the third score sheet. It's very rare to even get to the second score sheet, and we were about to start the third ones in the end. So here my opponent played rook c2, intending to double the rooks here. And then I saw a little trick here. I don't know if it's smart, but b6, hitting the queen, saying that, oh, take my pawn, yo. Here, of course, if I take instantly here, rook's hanging, he can take here and then take here with check. And even worse is that this is a mate, so in that way, Maybe I should have made the Luft on g6 and then dark square. So, I mean, obviously this is not good even without the mate here, but just to highlight some of the possibilities of these things. So, but after b6, now if you take my pawn, then I can take here. The rook is hanging, and now if you take here, I can take with the knight, hitting the queen and winning a piece here because you have to move the queen. You can't capture back. So little trap. My opponent says, no, queen a3. And then I play a5, and finally I defend my a pawn. They double there, and well, this is well covered, so I can just move the bishop out of the way. And if they chop here, I can just take back. We're fine here. I don't know, queen can try to sneak in somewhere, but I was thinking like I can go for something like this. If you take, I'll play knight here. If you can try to swim in, you have like a really good grip on the dark squares, and I don't think white can do much about it. I would rather be black here for sure. Even though this is usually the endgame I want to avoid is that somehow like I definitely never want to capture here and end up in a bishop versus knight endgames. Those were like a no in my books. Like those are miserable hang-ons where I have no play. I just have to wait until I die. So here I play bishop here, bang. My opponent missed here something because he wasn't happy about the takes. I think he maybe missed the check here or something. The intention was, I think, something like here, and I run into some trouble with this stuff here, but obviously if I have this check, I have no problems here at all. So after this one, he went here. And then I'll just bring the knight out of the attacks. Maybe in the need to go here and chop. So queen c1. And then I saw this, that I can get everything off with this way. Pop. And I go here, and you kind of have to give me the bishop because this threat here. You can try to go here, but then I have this one, and then you can't defend with the queen because then you actually lose because the pop and no good at all. So he played king g2. I took, they took. Well, their major pieces definitely are more active than mine, and there is weak square here that I have to worry about. But it's equal. I go queen, rook d8. They attack my pawn, and then I play e5. Defense, and then queen c2 is denying me opportunities of counterattacking here. Like if they go here, just go ignore this pawn and pretty much go for counterattacks here. And it's fine. So he didn't let me get there. I just defend any nonsense here and make some room for the king. Then he comes here. Well, now attack this. They check. And then queen b7. This is a big battery here, but it's an empty threat because you can't really capture without allowing this. So it's not really threatening anything. And yeah, any kind of a thing here is gonna end up badly for white. Well, probably I don't have a mate here if they go king h3. Of course, he can't go back other way, but on the other hand, I don't think I have much more than just taking a repetition here either. Because this is definitely just a mate threat in one. So queen b7, I make some room for the king. He blocks this one with h5, h4, rook c3. I'm just hanging around here. They come here. keeps this defended and intends to go for this one. I was very out of time at this moment because I had to figure out like, am I getting made it in there, and I had to spend a lot of time during this game. So here I think this move I just blitz with 3 seconds. I mean, luckily it's a good move, but I hadn't had time to really figure out this stuff, like, am I really safe if ever goes here and does this? I am always like the rook checks here and nothing, because I can go here and the queen defends the corners, and I have to worry about the things when he gets the rook, king, queen in front of the rook in a battery ways. Like the queen in the corner at any point is no threat, because even though he defends this one, this is not threatening anything because I can always go here. Or allow the check and then go there. Either way. And there's no follow-ups. Blitzed with 3 seconds, so I have no time. I'm playing on increment. After a trade, queen endgame would probably be an easy draw, so he says no. Rook d6. And then he drew in 39th move f4. Well, I went here. I did calculate a bunch of these lines, but it seemed insane to allow this queen to the back rank here. Here I have to be, I probably would have blundered if I went this way here, because here you have a draw, but you, like the natural move that you want to keep the pawn by check here loses. You have to just move the king here. And the point is here, if white gives a check and there, and this wins, I can't defend this, except here I have a trick, rook d7. If you take, I have this one, and here the point of why f3 is bad move is blocks the, or denies this check. Of course I didn't see any of this during the game. And would I have seen any of this with the increment? Probably not. So, well, luckily I didn't have to make this kind of a big commitment on the 40th move with no time. So I just defended the pawn. They took. This is the last move before time control. I guess my opponent afterwards said that he was expecting rook takes, and this is easier because, well, we can always counterattack things here, and this is still not a threat, and I took with the queen. They take. I mean, I pretty much, even wherever you go with the queen, I can always check and force the queens off, so he took, and attacked my pawn. At least we here reached the time control. Here I have a decision to make. It should be draw almost no matter what you do. Like, you have a really large margin to blunder in these positions. I can chop a pawn off here and still a draws. But of course, you can also lose those, so you don't want to lose the pawn. Here I have the choice between the way I played in a game or just keeping the rook here and kind of cutting the king off. I don't know, maybe in hindsight this would have been a better idea, but who knows. I went here because I had the idea that I can forcefully go rook b4, b5, a4, and just chop this side off, hopefully, and live happily ever after. The downside here is that my plan does not work. I mean, it would work, but he has king rook a8, stopping this and stopping this because the pawn hangs here if I push this, and, well, something hangs if I push that, which I did not see when I went the rook b5 that he has this one. Of course, the rook here is not pressuring this one, so we can always do something, some other move here, anything. So it's still fine. Nothing is broken. But when he went here, I just activated my king too. The downside of the king coming all the way up here is that these always drop with checks, so I'm never ever threatening any a4 chop check. take here because I lose this pawn with check and then he can defend this one. And well, good part is that even those are probably just draws, but I have to work really hard to get those draws down a pawn. I mean, spoilers, I did end up down a pawn on this flank. Not good. Alright, so rook b7, rook e5. Here I saw that I can check the king a lot. I was wondering if they are gonna go here. And then I was unsure, can I afford b5, b4? I saw that he can maybe sneak through here and win a pawn here. But then I can sneak here and win some pawns here and here. Let's say king takes, check, takes. He has a passer here. I can make a passer here. It's still a drawish, but or equal position, but it's an imbalance. The other option I have here is just to go and say the same setup here and say, where are you gonna break through? Like there is no breakthroughs. Also fine. Well, my check plan ended up the white king running himself all the way to g2. And then I went back here. And then he goes f3. Then g4 or something. And now the downside of this move is that I cannot do this. I don't know where the king goes, but eventually maybe he has to go here. But point is that if I take here, this goes with check, so I don't have time to capture this one. And then, I don't know, I have to defend something like this or something like this. Did not want that to happen. Well, it did, but I did regret bringing the king out here for a while. And now this is a bit annoying because it takes away my squares here and the king is just sliding here and then a3 and b4 and king c4 and maybe I lose the pawn here. So I played b5, he checks, I go here, he goes here, I'll go forward. They took. I took with the pawn. This guarantees that I end up down a pawn because the king is definitely coming here. And I don't have time for this because he started taking out of the check here. Funny, I did think about this for a little while, but it was too much to calculate. I can actually take here, and then if he runs for this pawn, I can run for these pawns here, and the king has to capture this and the rook get out of the way, and this is a lot of time for black, so he can play g5, pop, and now white actually kind of has to, or even earlier that this is too far. So the race here actually ends up in a black win. Pop. No good. So here, instead of going this way, white has to like double back. Last moment to double back. The pawn endgame is draw. Here I can even go f5. Here. Looks like we're losing because bang. Now white can, like my king is a little too far away from there. So white can double back here and win the races. But here black has a nice little trick move. g5, losing a pawn, winning a pawn. Pop. This is fine. I don't have to go for that, but it's an option. Well, anyways, I took with the pawn, rook, keeping the rook endgame. My opponent slides away from this check. And then I don't know how to keep the pawn because I have no squares on this diagonal. The king is coming here and squeeze my rook out of the defense here. Luckily here it does not matter almost at all what I do. Everything is still equal. but I wanted to create counterplay with the potential making passed pawn here somehow. He comes here, stops my g5. I bring the king closer, and now he slides towards my rook. Still, I can't do this because of that. I mean, I was wondering at some point I'll do this and they'll take, and I'll go for these guys, and this is fine. He can probably push, and probably still equal, but whatever. I decided that I want the rook of this stuff here, so he went backwards. If he chops here, I was gonna go for this here and chop, and I'll make myself a passed pawn here, and to stop him, he has to give me something in return, and I lose. I end up in a pawn down rook endgame, but they should all be holdable and not even that hard. So he goes here. He's trying to still trick me. I'm like the king is covering this side here. I went here, forcing this. It gives me an in-between check. And here I could probably blunder with the... Well, this doesn't blunder anything. But this blunders in a way that he has now this in-between move check. And then he's gonna actually win. Oh, my pawn is on this side. Not so great. Wonder if he should here, because this is probably a draw setup here, so he should probably play g4 here and let this slide and then win this one. So I think he wins that by force here. Something cooks my king and pushes the pawn. And if I go here, I think I lose this one. Actually, not so sure. Probably have to repeat here. I don't know. He probably can ignore this pawn and just let it go here and just walk his things through. Yeah, this should be a white win for sure. So king e5 would be a little bit of a stupid move in a way that it denies me this counterplay. But after he ruined this check, I went king f5, so here it doesn't matter because I can go here and keep the pawns protected here. And then I get to like take here and create a passed pawn somehow here. After g5, he took. I took. King takes is also possible, but I wanted to like take this way and create a h-pawn passer. So he checked me and then checked me and then played g4. A little trick. Of course, if chop, it's easy draw, but his point was I'll take. He gives the check here and takes here. But the downside of this is that this is not a winning try either. It's a knight pawn, so it's not so great. And I can kind of force him to, well, go passive with the king here to defend the pawn here. I hang around my king here, and the flank pawns are not really good winning chances. My king is gonna hang around these parts of town, and the rook's gonna hang around this part of town. He gave me a bunch of checks. Like here of course he is, for instance. I don't know what I would do to plunder this tactic here, the rook trade, and then win with the pawn here, but I guess I could technically go here, and he says this. Yeah. And then this is this even losing? Is this even losing? We're still in the square. So even that is not a threat, yeah. But this is definitely a threat though. That I cannot go to f-file here, because this is definitely a threat of sorts. Now I definitely lose because of pop. Now I'm not gonna capture both of these. So I just hang around with the king around this part of town. Finally he pushes the a-pawn. And well, I gave some checks here, but basically eventually my rook ends up in the ideal square where I'm controlling the passer and looking on here, and here white has a problem is that he's gonna lose this if he runs the king here, or like or eventually you have to push the pawn all the way here to tie down my rook. But then the king has no hidey holes anywhere. So either you do the so I played king h here. So either you do the king run here, but then I have always time to capture this. And if you do this, I'm threatening to promote this, that I get back here in time. This is no problems. And here you can, of course, try to run your king to the hole here, but black also has a counterplay here with their passer. So, and this is not like protected with the rook here, so this is actually the more dangerous pawn now. At some point white has to bail out and just start to play for drawing that line. Or as in the game, we drew in a lot of irrelevant moves here. My king should stay definitely around these parts of town. But the point is that eventually white has to push the pawn. But then he has no winning chances either because the king has nowhere to hide. I'm just gonna keep my rook somewhere around these parts of town and give checks. So, and my king is gonna hang around this here and here. It's like, obviously you cannot go this way because of this trick. So these are the best squares for the king. You just deny any of this nonsense here. So my king is gonna stay here. My rook is eventually gonna go. I have no time to take this, of course, because of the check and promote. But the rook is happy somewhere far away. So I didn't really care too much about this one. Just moved fast this way. But the point is that whenever he defends the pawn, I have to give him a check. I gave another check and then go back, and the rook's no longer or never getting out of in front of the pawn. Well, he goes here. Here, I don't even have to defend this pawn because then blank pawn on the 7th rank and the knight pawn is not even good enough. Bishop pawn, I would have to defend, otherwise I lose. That would be harder too. But here I don't even have to because I can always, when he comes here, I can check and say, don't take my pawn. Anyways, he didn't even try. Here he went here, but good part about this is that I can just take the pawn. And this is no threat. I mean, it's the same as the game, same end game basically. Doesn't matter where the rooks get traded. I will lose this pawn, but it doesn't matter because I didn't even try to hang on to it. Like, it doesn't matter. There's just one thing you have to remember is that in this situation, this square is almost poison. So we just have to run our king around this square. And we can only step into here after he takes. So he goes here. If I go here, I lose because they have the opposition. But I run around this square here and wait until they take. And then I can go here and have my opposition. And then it's just a draw. My opponent still tried for a while. Of course, it's an endgame you should know in your sleep. We're at the move 119 and 120 from white, and it's a stalemate. We were about to start the third score sheet, so this is definitely my record length game, probably time-wise and move-wise. But this was a very long Tuesday. I was the last one playing the whole. The morning game I was one of the last people. To this game I definitely was the last person playing. And spoilers, Wednesday's game I was also the last one playing, so I really tired myself. I really did. Anyways, the score, of course, was a good result. Draw with black pieces against a really strong opponent. And with a funnily good performance too. Like if you run this on leeches, this is 100% game. Obviously the end, because the last, I don't know how many moves were all draws. I mean, basically it was all draws all game. It was not, of course, perfect because I blundered my pawn on the flank and made it hard, but basically White's biggest advantage was like 0.1 at some point, like here, according to the computer. Okay, actually he has 0.2 advantage around this part of town. So neither side made any accuracies, mistakes, blunders. One average centipawn loss. 100% accuracy from both sides. Mostly because of that stupidly long, always like the evaluation did never ever change in this endgame. And definitely not after the queen trades. It was just no matter what you do, you can blunder a pawn and it still destroys, unless you do it in a really stupid way. But well, that was that. Funny game, really brutal game to play though. I was really exhausted. Anyways, thanks for watching. This was a long video for a long game. Until next round. Bye bye.